The following program is produced by the Tech Talk Radio Network.
Hey everybody, this is Gary Ho Ho Hoey, and you are hanging out with Tech Talk Radio. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of Tech Talk Radio. I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Matt Jones.
And I'm Justin Lemmy.
You know, last week we started off with a note that we had gotten from Lou regarding getting his kid a computer. And you know, I had him listen to the segment, but I haven't heard what he decided to do yet. But some great suggestions there. Stu sent us a note, said one of the things that we missed when we talked about building your own system, and I didn't even think about this, we never mentioned that if you build your own system, you got to think about a monitor as well. But then I thought, well, whether you're buying a pre-built or you're building your own, you've got to think about a monitor. And he wanted to know, you know, if we are going to go with a monitor and you get yourself a gaming rig, is it important to get one that is made for gaming, like, you know, the high refresh rates, the whole bit?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Or can you just use any old monitor?
You can use any old monitor, like if you're just like a kid dinking around. But if you're looking to get the best out of your setup, if you're looking to get the most visually from that money you just spent, then yeah, I'd be looking at like a 1440p monitor with really fast refresh rate and a low response time.
If you're going to build a gaming PC, top of the line, best motherboard, best processor, best graphics card, and then you go with just a regular old off-the-shelf $100 monitor, that's like getting like a high-performance sports car, like a McLaren, and putting E85 gas into it. Why? You're just handcuffing yourself. Get yourself a decent monitor. They're not super expensive.
But yeah, well, you mentioned that. I mean, you go to any like Office Depot or Best Buy, and you look on the shelf, and you're going to see a monitor for $98 up to $150. I remember when I was in the market for a 49-inch curved monitor, and I had three that just were bad out of the box, and
wow.
I gave up, and I went with a smaller curved screen. But I think I did instead of going with 49-inch, I ended up going with a 37, and I'm pretty pleased with it. But now they have some out that the refresh rate is amazing. Does that make a difference when you're playing these games?
Refresh rate makes a difference when it comes to like if there's a lot of fast moving artifacts on your screen, because the higher the refresh rate, the smoother it's going to look. But honestly, the size is not really a huge factor that you should be looking into. You should be looking into refresh rate and an overall resolution. Like Matt said,
yeah,
a 1440p or even a 4K. 4K gaming with a 4K monitor is the top of the line, but it is extremely expensive to go all the way with 4K gaming. You're going to have the best of the best graphics card, best of the best monitor. So really just 1440p, basically they call it 2K, is just fine, in my opinion.
What's better, DisplayPort or HDMI? What should you use if you have that?
DisplayPort.
I would argue they're almost identical now. I don't think it really makes much of a difference. If I were to choose myself personally, I'd probably say DisplayPort.
DisplayPort?
But so HDMI, I think, is now just as good.
So there's also a side aspect to that. HDMI, when it was created, is a proprietary technology of, I want to say, Samsung and two other companies. They created HDMI, and then they basically patented it. So anytime it was used, they got a chunk of the profits. DisplayPort was all the other companies basically getting together and creating a new input standard, because there can't be enough cables on the face of this planet to do something that was basically the same, but more of an open source solution. When I plug in HDMI, there's functionality in my monitors that I don't have. But with my LGs, when I plug in DisplayPort, then I can kick on FreeSync or whatever is baked into your monitor. FreeSync is the AMD version. NVIDIA has their own. There was a point where they were not compatible with each other. And enough people yelled at the monitor people being like, I want this monitor, but I don't have an AMD card. So now they're basically compatible, with each other. It'll say one, but it's doing the same thing, whatever your graphics card is. But those engines that are baked into the monitors, I don't get any of that with my HDMI. I have to use my DisplayPort.
I would probably recommend, if Lou is hopefully listening again to this week's show for the follow-up on this, probably not spending too much, depending on the system that he gets, but not definitely going with the lowest end And I think getting one that will use a display port, if you're getting a graphics card that has display port out, which if you're getting a higher end graphics card, you're going to find that. So you're looking probably mid-range, what, about 350, 400?
Yeah, I think the ones that I'm running, they're LGs, they're 32 inches, both of them, they're 1440p, and I think I paid right around $3 for them. And I mean, even when I'm doing high-intensity games with lots of artifacts, lots of moving parts, it looks great. They're the monitors I use when I stream on Twitch. Like, I have zero complaints with these, and they weren't that expensive.
I want to give a shout out to a company that I've actually been working with professionally that I buy a lot of their products from. It's called Evergreen Electronics, and they are a refurbished company. They get a lot of returns and things like that, like a lot of Dells, HPs, but they refurbish those things and they sell them at a discount. And I've been buying a lot of monitors from them. I buy them from, our government account through work, but I can get a standard 24-inch Dell. It's not 4K, it's not even 1440p, but just like a standard decent Dell for like $120.
Not bad. Yeah.
That's not bad. And they do have some of the higher end stuff. So if you're, budget conscious, I would check out, I think it's evergreenelectronics.com is the website.
One of the, I'll tell you one of the things I did like about the Samsung, the G9 that I looked at, the 49-inch curved screen that I don't get with the smaller screen that I have, which is made by, that one's an LG. One of the things that I loved was the fact that you could, because I had a 2-monitor setup, monitor 1, monitor 2, but with this 49-inch curved screen, you can actually replicate 2 screens on this 49-inch curved screen. So it's like you can drag from one to the other, and you would be like going from one screen to the other screen, and it made it super nice, and I liked that. And I was just bummed that I had so many issues with them. One of them right out of the box, and that's shipping. That's not necessarily, but after the third try, I said, no, I'm not going to go that route. However, I would not recommend to Lou to get the new Arc, which I don't know if you guys have seen the Arc.
No.
You're shaking your head, Matt. That would be a little overkill.
It's a 55-inch curved monstrosity.
55-inch.
4 27-inch screens on itself.
Yeah.
This thing is so titanic that they built what looks like a dock that's just the freaking control unit for it that sits outside of it on your desk with its own little selector wheel. They had to take the electronics out of it and put it in a different box.
It is massive.
I had a former coworker that would sit at his desk at work, and he had a 60-inch television mounted to his cubicle. First off, I don't even know how in the heck he was able to mount a 60-inch television to his cubicle.
Yeah.
But that was his monitor. And that thing, it was, well, yeah, lots of duct tape, lots of zip ties. This thing was a 4K television, and he was running with a 4K display, and he would just run. Now, granted, he was like a network admin, so he wasn't doing like video games and stuff, but he would have 7 web pages open. He would have 15 different command prompts and SSH terminals opened up, and it was amazing. Like, he would sit there and he would be reclining so far back in his seat because he had to view this, and he was only like 2 feet away from the screen. And I just walked by his desk and I'm like, what in the heck? Like, how are you even able to see? This is so bad for your eyes. He's like, yeah, I don't care.
I have a couple of customers that have done that, where they actually use a regular TV instead of, a computer monitor, and they're pretty happy with them, because you can go out and buy a 70-inch television for around $500 now, maybe even cheaper.
But now, what is the downside? Does anybody know? What is the downside of using a television versus a monitor?
I did it for years.
Did you do it? Yeah.
Yeah, I did it for, hold on, I got to think through apartments, because that's how I measure time.
Oh my gosh.
I did it for like 4 years. I had a 42-inch flat screen TV with 120 hertz refresh rate that I got for dirt cheap. And I used it as a monitor, and I had no issues. I had no complaints. Like, the only thing I had to go in was I had to tweak like one setting on the TV itself, and that kind of like snapped everything into place. Otherwise, there was that little bit of overreach on the sides.
Right.
Once everything snapped in place, like, I had a 42-inch monitor mounted to a wall, so I had all that desk space reclaimed.
So why are monitors so much more expensive than TVs then?
Because nowadays, I mean, this was pre-2020. This was, I mean, I think I stopped doing that probably it was about 5 years ago. I want to say I had stopped, but I mean, for most people, like 120 hertz refresh rate, 4K TV that you can get for dirt cheap will work just fine. But if you're looking for like 144 hertz, 1 millisecond response time, all that stuff, you're not going to find that in a TV.
Right.
The only time I remember seeing that, besides the Samsung monstrosity, that's right, Samsung, come after me. It's a monstrosity. Please don't actually come after me. You run South Korea. So
Yes.
please leave me alone.
We're going to put you in the next episode of Squid Game.
If I was in Squid Game, I'd have just tripped on purpose in the first game. As soon as I saw somebody get dropped, I'd have just been like, nope, I'm out. But there was a time where, oh God, who was it? Somebody made they called it like the big frame or something. And do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I actually featured the product on television. Netgear, I believe they have one. It's a frame. It's like a piece of art. And
No. It was Samsung who created the frame TVs, but these were specifically like 55-inch giant screens with all the same tech as a gaming monitor baked into it.
Oh, wow. Okay, no.
But they were like, for this 55-inch gaming monitor that we know you're absolutely going to love as you slowly go blind from the brightness, we only charge the low price of $4,500 to start. And I'm like, listen, man, a good chunk of us live in our parents' basement and do not have that type of money to throw around. So now I live in my own basement is where I'm broadcasting from. But no, are you kidding me? It was Lou, right? Lou, just mid-grade gaming monitor for your kid. Great way to go. Unlike components inside the computer, a monitor is the easiest thing to upgrade because you can plug it, yeet it through a window, unplug your new one, unpack your new one, and put it on your desk.
It's pretty easy.
You've upgraded.
It's pretty easy, unless you're buying.
I love that. Yeet it through a window.
Now, there was one thing. I know I've been talking for a bit, but I want to circle back on something that I felt would be kind of a disservice last week when we were talking about building machines, and we're talking about skimping out on certain components.
Right.
Like you don't want to skimp out on a monitor. You don't want to skimp out on this. The one most common component people will skimp out on is the power supply.
Oh God, don't do
power.
that.
And the one absolute part you should never, ever, ever, 5 hours later, ever skimp out on.
A few moments later
is your power supply.
Yeah, most will go 400 watts because it's cheap.
Oh, that is not even close to being good anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
1,000 watt minimum. 1,000.
Basically, what you want to look at is the 80 rating. Is it 80 plus silver, 80 plus gold, 80 plus platinum? Do not buy some, cheap 700 watt power supply. Oh, it's got all the connectors I need, and it's like $30. And when it fries, because it's
going to take
I've
everything
replaced a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's going to fry your whole box.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's if you're lucky. It might, I don't know, set the whole thing on fire.
Yeah, exactly. Catch fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't skip out on the power supply.
Always buy a decent power supply when you're building your tower. I would say the 80 rating, 80, and it'll say it on the box, 80 gold for me is the bare minimum. Make sure you're buying the right wattage for your machine with
What does the 80
cushion.
mean?
80 is the reliability rating.
Why is it 80? Why not 90 or 100? Well, you seem to be smart about this. I was just wondering if you knew.
I seem to be smart. That's why people assume I'm smart. It's a clever trick on my side.
I didn't mean to call you out or anything. I was generally curious.
Yeah. No.
Well, I tell you what. No. I'll look it up. But yeah, the 80 rating, you want to go with at least a gold. I know I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry. I'll get off my soapbox. But it is literally, if the CPU is the brain of your machine, The power supply is the heart. Do not buy a cheap Chinese knockoff off the shelf heart. You will die.
I have been pretty happy with Corsair in their power supplies.
Oh, yeah. Corsair's a good brand.
And I have purchased the 1,000-watt machine, which actually that power supply died on me. I ended up going down to an 850, and I was or an 800. I was very happy with that. Same manufacturer because it was out of warranty, but a lot of people are confused as far as what is needed. Now, what I'd recommend, I don't know about you, Matt or Justin, but when it comes to figuring out what your system will require, you can go to the website for the manufacturer of whatever power supply you're looking at from whatever company, and you can enter that information, and it will tell you what you should be getting. And you don't have to go and buy the 1,000 watt. And I would recommend modular all the time. Because
all the time.
Yeah, because if you're going to build, you want to have that capability to run the cables and use only the cables that you need.
Also, PC Part Picker will do that for you. If you're building a computer with PC Part Picker, when you go to pick your graphics card and your processor and all that, it takes into account the wattage required by each of those components. And if you go and try to put a 600 watt power supply, it's gonna mark it red and say, this ain't enough. And another part of that is, again, your graphics card is going to take the biggest chunk of your power. If you are going to go with a high-end NVIDIA or even an AMD card, you're going to need a lot of wattage. I would really honestly recommend that you don't go below 1,000 watts. Honestly, just get a 1,000-watt power supply.
I'm actually
they're not that much more than 800.
Yeah,
I'm going to disagree with that based on my current rig. Yeah. I have an AMD 9850 XT. No, not 98, 6850, 6800 XT. And I'm only rocking, I think, like a 750 watt. I'm completely okay. But to circle back to Justin's earlier question, 80 Plus is a voluntary certification program launched in 2004. What it basically denotes is that to qualify for 80 Plus, a power supply must achieve at least an 80% efficiency at three specific loads, which is 20, 50, and 100% of a maximum rated power. And how you do in that affects whether you get an 80 Plus or the bronze, silver, gold, platinum, or titanium levels.
Ooh, I've never seen
for
that.
example, an 80 Plus bronze is 82% efficient at the 20% power load versus an 80 Plus titanium is 92% efficient at a 20% power load.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
You're paying for efficiency, and the efficiency is a direct relation of component and reliability.
All right, big question from Lori. We got this one on Facebook. And I think we got a few minutes to handle this one. Said, I'm worried. I don't have antivirus protection. I've listened to your show, and once in a while you'll have a guest on talking about this. However, I know I have Windows Defender. Is that enough? Or with all the free choices, should I pay for something like Norton or ESET? But I'm really confused of what I should do because I don't feel protected.
Yes, you should be paying. I would recommend ESET.
ESET? I have to disagree with you on that one.
Are you seriously going to sit here and recommend Norton?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There was a point.
I'm disagreeing with both of you.
Yeah. There was a point where, I'll tell you about Norton, where I did not like it because there was so much bloating on it. And I went ESET, and I like ESET. I still like ESET. However, with the plan that I ended up getting, and I ended up paying for it, and I pay like $119 a year. I could protect up to 5 PCs. I know I've got the research behind Symantec, so I feel safer with that. So I went with that. And I know that's not what everybody's going to do. I don't like the nagging that I do get with Norton, and that comes with, buy this, you could buy this, add on this, the whole bit. But I'm very interested to see what Matt is thinking.
Norton. Hey, Andy.
Yeah?
Did you know your subscription's going to expire in 2 years? My God, man, that's around the corner. Please give us more money today.
You're reminding. Yes, you're reminding.
Was that your Stewie impression?
That was pretty good.
No, but I can do a Stewie if you want me to.
Do this whole next segment. This is the whole next commentary as Stewie.
The whole next time I can talk as Stewie. That's fine. What the deuce?
So for me, and before anyone jumps down my throat in the comments after the show and says I don't know what I'm talking about,
You're going to say Windows Defender. No.
I have a CISSP, which is a Certified Information System Security Professional. I am a senior cloud security engineer, and most of my coworkers and I only use Windows Defender.
Oh, my
Really?
Lord. Really?
Because initially when Windows Defender came out, it was the equivalent of trying to stop a runaway freight train with 3 pieces of wet tissue paper.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That's a good analogy.
It was just like the malware's coming and it's like, it's okay, buddy, I've got you covered. And you're just sitting there like, this is going to end absolutely horribly and probably with my death. But I use Windows Defender on all my machines in my house. And just to be on the safe side, I run about once a month, I run a Malwarebytes scan just to double check. And I don't get anything. Right. And you also have to remember that the Windows Defender, the money that they're putting in is not just Windows Defender for you. It is Windows Defender for Microsoft 365. It is Windows Defender for Microsoft Azure. All the money they're pouring into Windows Defender is the Windows Defender, the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
It's the whole ecosystem that it uses that goes across commercial, government, enterprise, and consumer. I have not had any issues with it. I don't pay a cent for it, and it works just fine.
Okay, but here's one caveat to that. You are a cybersecurity professional. You also know what websites not to visit and things. When the average Joe or average Jane, whatever, may not understand, hey, I probably shouldn't go to this website. It says AmazonPrime.com. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't go to that website because that's obviously not the right website. But you know that as a professional. So you're not visiting those same websites that maybe people that are, I don't want to say less smart, but just less experienced,
less savvy,
with the cybersecurity as yourself. So that's something to consider though as well. Now, I'm not saying that Microsoft Defender is bad, but you also, like I said, you understand what not to go visit,
and it is something to consider. But most people in the U.S. use the browser that just comes with their machine. And, for the longest time, that was Internet Explorer. If you looked at a map for ages about most popular browser used in the country, we held the market on Internet Explorer. Well, we finally put a bullet in that bad boy and let him die the death that should have happened before there was a 1 or a 2 in our year. I'm talking like 2000, that thing should have been done.
Yeah.
But Microsoft Edge, which is actually surprisingly robust now, but I still don't use it for my own personal preferences, links into Windows Defender. And I'm actually looking at it right now. You don't only have device security, firewall, and network control. They do have app and browser control, which includes reputation-based protection settings, isolated browsing if you really need something like that, and exploit protection built into it. So if you try to go to those sites with Defender, you are occasionally going to get a pop-up that's like, hey, prime.amazon.primeamazon.com is actually not how you get to amazon.com. So I don't think you want to go here.
Right. All right, so here we go. We got Justin, ESET, me, Norton, and you sticking with Windows Defender. I don't know if that's going to confuse Lori even more, but maybe she's on the right track. Just to be careful while she's browsing.
Lori,
that's the most important part.
Lori, no matter what you do, just don't get Kaspersky.
Laughs. Oh boy.
Or what's the other one?
Avast.
Avast or McAfee.
Yeah. All right. We got to take a break. Coming up, a couple of great guests. We're going to talk with Kim Caldwell, a cybersecurity expert. She's written a new book, Hacker Culture A to Z. It's a pretty amazing book. And again, we'll have links available on our website for that. We're going to be talking about digital safety and as it applies to your kids and to you as well. Yaron Litwin, Chief Marketing Officer at Canopy. You've got kids, want to help keep them protected on their devices, or want to keep your eyes from seeing stuff that maybe you don't want to see? We'll be doing that when we come back with Tech Talk Radio. I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Matt Jones.
And I'm Justin Lemmy. Quick shout out to my coworker.
Shout out.
Lori, who's been listening, my coworker Lori. I know we just had a question from Lori. I don't think it's the same one.
But
hey, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Thank you for listening, Lori.
And you can find us on the web at techtalkradio.com. We'll be right back.
And now, back to Tech Talk Radio.
So I read a book recently that opened my eyes. I realized that in the media, it's so easy to say it was hackers. It was hackers that stole this or hackers that did this. And that's who we want to blame right away. And you hear it everywhere in movies, television, and of course, news, when that's not necessarily the case. And my eyes were opened recently, and all in part to Kim Crawley, who has put together a book through O'Reilly Press, Hacker Culture A to Z, a fun guide to the people, ideas, and gadgets that made the tech world. And Kim joins us. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you, Andy.
Kim, when did you really realize that the term hacker was applied generally across the board to everything from people who can kind of fix things and work with things to cyber criminals?
I think when I was a teenager, I believed the colloquial meaning of hacker, which people associate the term with cyber criminal, and that's usually what the media goes with. I think in my 20s, as my life started to turn in the direction that my career went in, that's when I started getting my feet wet as far as understanding hacker culture is concerned. The origin of the word hacker is really quite fascinating, and I do mention it in my book, Hacker Culture A to Z. The origin actually dates back to the 1960s. And to MIT's Tech Model Railroad Club, which was a bunch of nerds who mainly tinkered around with model trains and whatnot, but they also played around with electronics and with the computers that existed in the 1960s. And the 1960s was long before the personal computer. So the computers that people used back then had to be shared with a lot of other people. And of course, MIT, being one of the top tech schools, had their own PDP-10 and the big IBM. Some of them were mainframes, some of them were mini computers. Mm-hmm. But mini computer would be a misnomer to people today because it's not a small computer. It meant not a room-sized computer, a refrigerator-sized computer. So these extremely nerdy people, if they came up with a clever trick, they called that a hack. So if you were able to do those things, you were a hacker. My understanding of the word hacker and the understanding in hacker culture in general is someone who finds new and inventive uses of technology that could sometimes be harmful. So if you use technology to harm, you're a cyber attacker. Mm-hmm. So, you can be a hacker and a cyber attacker. There's a lot more nuance and complexity to the term than lay people are aware of.
Now, Kim, we hear a lot about dark web, which, right away, that's what we picture. Is there really a dark web for people? There are people listening that have never gone to that area. Is there?
Oh, absolutely. The dark web actually is built on technology that was actually developed by the U.S. government. Well, not directly, but by U.S. government agencies. There are proxy networks. So the more popular one is called Tor, as in the onion router. And then a less popular one is called I2P. But if you connect to either of these networks, you can access the normal part of the web through a Tor browser or a web browser specifically for I2P. You need a special web browser in order to access this. But the parts of the web or the internet that you cannot access without those proxy networks, that is what we call the dark web. Well, the web part is called the dark web. You can call the internet part in general the dark net.
The book kind of goes into this, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The existence of this technology in and of itself is perfectly legal, just as my lighter is perfectly legal, but committing arson with it isn't. People do use the anonymity or relative anonymity. Nothing is perfect. They do take advantage of that to commit crimes. So there are sites on the dark web where people sell illegal drugs and malware and stuff like that, and some like really illegal stuff that's much worse than those things. Oh, yeah. Some of the lawful uses, like a lot of mainstream websites actually have a version that's only accessible by Tor. I think Facebook is one of them. I think there's one for BBC News. So one lawful application of these technologies is, for instance, if you are a journalist and you are in a hostile area and you don't want your courageous journalism to be intercepted by hostile parties, you could use the Tor network or the I2P network. And so the way that it works is there's a series of proxy servers, and not only is your data encrypted in another layer, but also each server along the chain only knows the IP addresses of the nodes that it's sending and receiving data to. So the only node that knows the IP address to your computer or your phone is the entry node that you use. And then it goes all along the chain to like an exit node that goes to the server that you're communicating with. And then it goes all the way back, but each of those nodes only knows the neighboring IP addresses in that chain of communication.
In deciding what goes in the book, was that kind of difficult? Was there some that you said, well, we'll leave them out, or no, we should include them? And how did you come up with this full list?
Actually, I wrote a lot of content for the book that didn't end up being made into the book. I think there are in the neighborhood of just under 300 terms that ended up in the book. But my development editor, Sarah Gray, she was great to work with, by the way, we had to pick and choose some of the entries to go into the book. They were all good and they were all relevant. Choosing the terminology was really easy. Like as soon as O'Reilly gave me the green light for this book, I came up with like a long list of every relevant term or person or concept I could think of. And I wanted to make a book that you could read in any order. Like you don't have to read it from front to back. You can read it in any order you want. And I wanted to make a book that was ADHD friendly and that you could read in short bursts. And I don't think the concept of like an A to Z book like that is completely original, but it's probably one of the only ones for this particular kind of subject matter. But it really kind of puts together all these key concepts in the development of computer technology and the important people involved and the important entities. And I tried to also make the book really accessible to people who aren't techies. So there are lots of technical terms in the book, but they're all defined for lay people.
This type of book could actually help protect people against maybe somebody that is trying to be a cyber criminal and have access to the system, so they understand a little more about some of these terms, so they're not just lost and it's just a word that the media is using.
That would be great if that's the effect the book has, because my background is in cybersecurity research and writing books about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is definitely a theme in this book. I would say maybe it's 25% about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I also wanted to broaden my horizons from cybersecurity because I really am excited about the history of computing in general. So, but yeah, there is a lot that lay people can learn just about cybersecurity from this book.
What would you say is the one piece of technology that excites you the most as we kind of move forward?
I know that you're probably looking for me to say our new AI developments like ChatGPT and whatnot, but honestly, I don't think I wrote about it in the book, but a couple of weeks ago, I bit the bullet and I bought a Flipper Zero.
Oh, wow. Really?
And I'm in Canada and the official Flipper website doesn't even sell them to Canada anymore. I had to go to like a retailer who was based in California. And then when the thing crossed the border, I had to pay like $100 tariff on it.
Oh, man.
It's so cool. It's an illegal gray zone right now, but obviously, you know, the US and Canada are still treating it like it's perfectly legal because it did cross the border.
Yeah.
It's a little handheld device. It's about the size of a USB thumbstick, maybe a little bit bulkier. And it has like a display on it, a very small monochromatic display. And it runs like a little digital dolphin that has a personality and all that. So you can kind of use it as like a Tamagotchi.
Right.
It also runs all kinds of scripts. It has all kinds of readers for different sorts of radio signals and NFC and stuff like that. If you have a card that works with NFC, for instance, You can scan that into your Flipper Zero. You can run scripts on the Flipper Zero to try and crack radio signals. Some of this is legal if you have the consent of the people whose technologies are involved in what you're trying to penetrate.
Mm-hmm.
But just like a knife or a lighter, it could be used for illegal things as well. So
yeah, but it is, again, it's, you look at these pieces of technology, and while we're consumed over here, and like you said, with AI and what's going on, there are some other really neat things that are making their way. Some we'll never ever see. Some are out there. It's important to know that too.
I absolutely had to get a Flipper Zero.
That is awesome. I love it. What next for you? You still writing for publications as well? And do you think there'll be another one?
I write technical manuals, but my passion is more in books like this that go into the culture of computing and are a fun read, not just like a tech manual.
Yeah.
So I'm on great terms with O'Reilly, and that's the publisher that gets my fun book concepts. And I think early next year, I don't want to spill my ideas out right now, but I have an idea for another fun book that I can write for O'Reilly.
Hacker Culture A to Z. It's available now from O'Reilly. They can find it just about anywhere. And you have a website as well. If our listeners want to check you out on the web, what's that website address?
Absolutely. So Linktree, linktr.ee/KIMCRAWLEY.
Thanks for coming on the show.
It's an honor. Thanks, Annie. Nice to meet you.
That's Kim Crawley. We'll be back with more of Tech Talk Radio. You can find us on the web and check out the links at techtalkradio.com.
Now, back to Tech Talk Radio.
You know, with so many changes when it comes to technology, they're saying that children are getting smart devices, tablets, and even getting on the computer at younger ages. You know, a big concern is protecting them. And there are a lot of dangers out there. Some of the dangers involve their personal data, their personal information, but also them seeing things that really they shouldn't be seeing at a young age. And we've talked about a company called Canopy many times in the past year. And Yaron Litwin is a digital safety expert and chief marketing officer at Canopy. And we're really happy to have him on the line with us to tell us about Canopy. Yaron, thank you for coming on the show.
Andy, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Now, tell us a little bit about Canopy. We kind of understand it. For our listeners who have kids or grandkids that maybe don't know what it's all about, can you kind of put it in a nutshell for us?
Sure. In a nutshell, I would say Canopy is an AI-powered digital safety app. And what that means is that it's a very easy-to-use app that both the parent can there's a parent app where the parent can manage the digital safety levels that they would want to have for their child. And then there's a child app, which is called the Shield app, that sits on the child's phone and is constantly in the background filtering in real time content that the child is viewing. And when it comes across explicit content, it knows how to white it out and by doing so not interfere with the actual online experience. And so that's what Canopy does. It really enables parents and families to give their kids the freedom to be online while knowing that there's a safety net so that they don't come across dangerous, explicit material.
You know, I remember, Yaron, in the old days of Yahoo Chat and some of the chat rooms that would come up. I mean, you kind of saw that this could be an issue when it came to the digital security for our children and what they could see, what they could read there online. When did the idea, the origin of Canopy kind of get started? Was it many, many, many years ago when we saw this?
So the technology that powers Canopy has been in development for now over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so we've been doing kind of AI or artificial intelligence before it became a buzzword. But really the idea is we've developed the patents and the technology that enables us to identify images and video in split seconds and filter them out. And so that technology has been developed for over 10 years. Canopy has been around now for about 5 years and really focused on enabling parents. We also have many adults that use the application to just provide that protection and that filter between the online experience they want to have and kind of the online experience that they could stumble into.
We're talking about it, how it can affect children, but honestly, there's a lot of us adults that don't want to see some of this stuff that is floating around on social media and online. This can help protect our eyes from that, and again, protect our devices.
Definitely, definitely. There's this kind of idea of digital wellness, which I think is becoming perhaps kind of post-COVID more and more, I would say, popular, where adults themselves, either for kind of religious reasons or just for their own mental health, are looking to block out porn, take time off of social media, and with Canopy, it's very easy to kind of put those rules, put those habits in place. The way we think about this, that there's really three things that from a parent's perspective, you want to be thinking about. One is how much time kids are spending online, the content that they're seeing, and who's on the other end of that. And through Canopy, we kind of provide protection across all those three different layers, if you will. And it's proven now that too much time online, social media is really having a negative impact on our children's mental health. And so I think, like you're saying, in the past, we knew this was a problem. Now there's data to back it up that we really do need to protect our children and ourselves online.
Also, the other thing, Yaron, is there's a lot of parents out there that consider themselves tech savvy, but yet to manage all of this can be real difficult. And let's face it, we're in a world now where our technology that's available to our children, even if for those of us that are afraid of AI, can actually help in many cases rather than deter the educational experience, but it's a matter of how it's applied. Now, we've seen the numbers that, many parents out there are introducing children younger than the age of 13, and there's been a lot of arguments over this to social media. But I don't know, do parents understand the type of dangers that is posed out there when they really keep a hands-off kind of method to that?
Unfortunately, I don't think there's enough awareness, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and educate your audience. I think all parents have an understanding that it's not good. I don't think they fully understand kind of to what degree the dangers might be. For example, just this week, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about what we call kind of a sextortion scam, where young boys on Snapchat were being targeted and tricked into sending naked photos,
right,
and then being blackmailed for that. And so I think that these are things that they are now starting to get written about, and I think there's more awareness. But I don't think that I would necessarily be aware of that or think about that as a parent if I wasn't kind of in this space. And so a lot of what we're doing is helping parents become educated that there not only are there the risks, but there are also the solutions out there to really help you manage your children's online experience and the technology. So I totally agree and kind of resonate with what you opened. Oftentimes it's so frustrating to try and understand the settings of let's say a different operating system that you're used to. So if the parent is on an iPhone and the child's on an Android, trying to figure out how to set up those settings can be very difficult. In Canopy, it's an all-in-one dashboard and kind of management system. So no matter what operating system they're on, or if it's a laptop or a phone, you can control everything from kind of that one very user-friendly interface.
So a good point there then. So it's not only smartphones, the computer, the household computer, or maybe they have a laptop that they use for school, that could also be protected?
Yes, we protect Chromebooks, PCs, iPads, and the phone. So really every device that is being connected to the internet and has the potential of exposing a child to those online risks.
All right, so say, I've got a child, they've got a laptop, and we've got Canopy installed, and they decide that they want to, take a ride down one of the websites called Hub or Tube or whatnot. Mm-hmm. How does this stop that experience?
Out of the box, Canopy will block all known porn sites and just any known dangerous sites.
Mm-hmm.
So that is out of the box. There's no need for any settings, and it will just block access to those sites. But for example, there's a lot of those type of materials that you mentioned that you refer to on YouTube, on Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's where Canopy really shines. It's the ability when you're actually on what is considered a non-explicit website or app, and that type of content appears. That's why Canopy kind of jumps to the forefront. We call it our shield, our Canopy shield, and we'll filter out that content. So it won't block the website, which is different, and that's kind of our claim to fame. That's really what's unique about Canopy, as opposed to just blocking a child or an adult out of an online experience. It's just filtering out those images or those videos that is deemed to be inappropriate. And so that way, if you're on Twitter, for example, or YouTube, you can still experience YouTube. It will just white out images that are seen as inappropriate.
How about TikTok? Would it work with that? Because a lot of the kids, they're getting on TikTok and Snap, and I don't even know if Be Real is a thing anymore, but they get on there, and there could be stuff on there that they probably shouldn't see.
Definitely. Yes, we block and we also filter, and the filtering is what I was just talking about. We filter across all those apps and websites. And what's also unique is that you can actually customize that experience. So, for example, if you don't want your child on, let's say, sports gambling sites, you can block off that whole category of sites just for, let's say, for one child. And so we give the parent a lot of flexibility and customization opportunities to really make the experience that they want to give their children as much as possible to match with their values.
Well, Yaron, I'm thinking about this, and I love everything this can do, but I also think we're talking about social media, we're talking about the web, but another problem area, and as an adult, I don't know if you've got them. I've received texts before that seem like it's from somebody you might know, and it's really not. Even texting could be an issue. Can Canopy work when, say my child's got a smartphone and they're texting, but we don't know who they're texting? Could they help protect our child that way?
So currently we would protect from any explicit or inappropriate images and video, and we will be coming out early next year with the ability to also filter out text. And I think that maybe that's what you're referring to, which is the ability to identify if there's certain words are being used that perhaps might be dangerous in text, not just in images and video. And that is something that we with in the new year.
Now, some kids are sharp, Yaron. How can the protections with Canopy not be removed or disabled? Because, I've seen, kids can know how to reboot stuff and take stuff out. Is there protections in place?
Totally. I think as a parent, my kids were always able to kind of overcome the settings and somehow figure out how to get out of the kind of the out of the box settings that come with your iPhone. And so one of the really unique features in Canopy is the ability to set in removal prevention. And so there's a certain settings that if you enable it, it is very, very challenging to remove Canopy. And so that is often what we hear from parents, is that the idea that they know that it cannot be removed, that it's really there to protect their children, and that children can easily change a time zone or kind of do something clever to kind of fool the system. And so that's really one of the unique aspects of Canopy.
Now, one of the issues I remember when my kids were growing up was getting them off their devices late at night. We'd go to sleep and then suddenly they would be online. And I know that some of the different router manufacturers will put certain things in place, but Canopy kind of gives you an overall blanket to help protect that from them getting online after hours.
Exactly. The Canopy name is exactly this idea of like really giving them full protection. And so when it comes to what we call screen time, we give the parents a very robust system of being able to manage screen time across devices. And so, for example, let's say as a parent, you want the no use of the mobile phone after 8 p.m. You can set that up in Canopy, but perhaps for the PC, the rules are different because there's homework and so forth. And so, maybe that only goes off at 9. And so you can really schedule on and off times by device per each child, per each individual in the household. And that gives also a lot of flexibility to kind of maintain those habits and those behaviors that as a parent you'd like to enforce.
Love it.
I would just like to add that, our approach is not controlling. I mean, it's really this idea that parents are using Canopy, and this is a lot of the feedback that we get, as a great communication device, as a behavior kind of habit establishing platform.
Right.
And so although the parent can kind of set certain parameters, the idea is really that it's done with the child and that it's done in a way that opens up opportunities for communication and for really good parenting, as opposed to kind of this idea of controlling or their online experience. And so it's really kind of a shift in how we're thinking. And I think that a lot of parents and children actually we're seeing now, that is very appealing to them, kind of a joint approach.
I like it because the parents could also learn from the kids and, of course, still apply some of these to help make them a little safer, and the parents as well.
Definitely.
I love your blog. It's got some great tips available. Tell us a little more about that, and how often do you add some of these tips to the website?
We're always trying to understand what is it, what are kind of parents focused on? How can we help them? Both with what Canopy can do, but also we believe in. So if Canopy has the artificial intelligence, we believe that at the end of the day, it's really the parenting intelligence that is really going to enable kids to be healthy and create the right behaviors. And Canopy here is kind of an enabler of that. And so we try and find opportunities to write about both the technology that can help, but also the parenting kind of behaviors and ideas that would help parents. At the end of the day, we all just want to be good parents and keep our kids safe.
Yeah.
And technology is changing very rapidly, and so we try and educate on some of those changes and what to be aware of, and some of the solutions that are out there as well.
You're on so many different solutions that Canopy is offering. Could businesses, or maybe even, why not schools, be using Canopy within their districts?
Definitely, we do have kind of a school offering. It's slightly different. We have also seen it's different in terms of just how the product is set up, but we definitely work with schools. We've also seen many schools that are now asking for Canopy to be implemented or installed on any kind of laptops or phones that are coming into the school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're seeing more and more of that, where the school is also trying to create kind of a safe space. And of course, they need to know that there's some technology in place, some tools in place that they can rely on. And so Canopy definitely can help in that solution. That's one of the reasons we came out with a solution for Chromebooks, because Chromebooks tend to be very popular kind of in the school districts.
And now, can Apple users, Mac users also benefit with this?
Yes, this works on all operating systems, Windows, Mac, and Android.
Now, what about the different plans that are available? Do you have a different tier, like, maybe it'll protect this many devices? How does that work?
Sure. So we have currently three plans. We have our smaller plan is for 3 devices. It's really thought of like for 1 user or 2 users with 3 devices. And then we go all the way up to kind of a full family plan where you can have up to 10 devices, and there's a plan that's kind of like in the middle, in between. But there's definitely the idea is that we offer protection across all devices and multiple users. So that's kind of how we've thought about our plans and our pricing.
Can our parents that are out there, can they get kind of an idea of how it works? Is there a trial account available?
Yes, we offer a 7-day free trial, and alongside that, we offer both phone and email support. So if you have any questions while you're on trial, there's someone there that can answer your questions via email or phone, and of course that continues once you become a customer. And I would definitely encourage your listeners to go to canopy.us and click free trial. It's a very, very simple checkout process, and you can be up and running in minutes. It's
Great
very
stuff.
Easy to implement. Yeah.
Great stuff. Yaron, thank you so much for coming on Tech Talk Radio and telling us a little bit about Canopy. And again, canopy.us is the website address, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future, Yaron.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andy. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
We'll be back with more of Tech Talk Radio. Find links for anything we've talked about on our website at techtalkradio.com.
And now, back to Tech Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Dietrich Bader from Batman, and you're listening to Tech Talk Radio.
Today, I actually had a problem that I had at work, and I had to get a headshot of myself for a webinar that I'm doing this week. It's for the World Water Park Association. I'm going to be speaking to about, 100, 200 people across the country, across the world, really, about water park cybersecurity. And I know Matt's like chuckling over there because I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I do know a little bit about it. Anyway, so I took a headshot of myself. And when I looked at the picture, I was like, oh, man, I got a little bit of a neck beard, going on. Like, I was like, I didn't shave that morning, and my cheeks were a little bit inflated.
Right.
So I was like, I need to edit this a little bit, but I don't have Photoshop. So I sent the picture to our graphics artist who works for Highland Hills.
Oh, great.
And I was like, hey, man, can you do me a favor? Can you make me look a little bit prettier? Get rid of the neck beard and maybe tighten up the cheeks a little bit. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, man, sure. So this is what he sent me, and I'm going to send it to you guys right now.
Let's see the original.
Well, the original is right there.
Yeah, okay.
Right, that's me. And this.
Oh my lord!
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm looking at this and like, not only does it look like you have some glam makeup on, but
I'm looking like I'm wearing mascara.
He also like thickened up the rest of your beard and darkened it, but this is just proof that not even Photoshop can make you pretty.
Oh my. Oh, dude.
I think
low blow.
We need to put this on the website and have a contest. Matter of fact, I'll give away a $25 gift card to Amazon for the best digital reproduction of Justin here fixing the picture. If it can be fixed.
So you won't give me a $25 gift card, but you'll give somebody to make fun of me a $25 gift card.
Oh yeah,
Got
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. They can grab this from our website and have some fun with it. Now there's a guy on Instagram that does this. You send him a picture, you say, "Could you please do this? Like make the waterfall closer." And what they'll do is put the water pouring on everybody in the picture. It's so hilarious.
There's a whole subreddit too, by the way. While you're looking that one up right there for the listeners, there's a whole subreddit called Photoshop requests that you can put in. A lot of times, it's like they'll make fun of it. And it's not just one person. It's a bunch of different people will try their hand at making it.
Close this picture. This is scary. The way it's looking at me. It really is.
He rotated my head.
I don't know how he gave you crazy eyes.
I know. I look like I should be in the movie Barbie.
All right.
You look relatively sane in the first one, but in the next one, I feel like I'm going to wake up and you're just going to be standing over me like, did you reboot the firewall? Did you?
All right. Hit up our website. You can see the photo there. TechtalkRadio.com. That's it for this week. I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Matt Jones.
And I'm the creepy Justin Lemmy, I guess. Have yourselves a great week. We'll see you.